understand what he was doing and looking at, and over a long period of time, we'll see that data breaches don't happen overnight. On average, they take between 3 to 6 months to happen. So he, over that period of time, extracted a lot of information from the US government and exposed it onto WikiLeaks. Now, whether or not you say that's a good or bad thing, that's your own individual decision. But that was obviously an opportunity that he did take. So if we break it down today, why is this a growing threat? Why is there more and more potential for these thefts and crimes? Well, first of all, as we would all agree, data and the explosion of data and information is growing exponentially every day. Now, as we talk about whether that's structured data or a traditional database or cloud-based storage or things like that, or basic file shares, or people such as our company, we use a lot of software as a service, Salesforce and things like that. It's exponentially growing. Yesterday I was in Singapore. I met with one of our major banking customers, and they were discussing the number of databases they as a business have. If anybody will have a guess, how many databases do you think they have in their company? It's a number between 5,000 and 10,000 databases, individual databases. Now, some of those databases are massive databases that complete, organise every customer's information. So if you think about that, it's very, very hard for a company today to be able to maintain that and understand where all of their data is within an organisation. And this is a common question I ask of whether it be this afternoon, I'm going to meet a CISO or I'll meet a CIO tomorrow. That's a common question to ask and say, do you know? So if the board of management calls you to a meeting today and they say, where is all the data within this government organisation, within this bank, within this retail e-commerce site, the reality, in my opinion, is they cannot say to the board of management they know where all their data is stored at any one point in time. So obviously we would agree that's a problem of concern. And that problem of concern is accelerating because as we're talking yesterday with this bank, their level of data is growing exponentially every 6 months to a year. And that's same relevance here in the market here today. When we go around in Imperva and we meet a majority of our customers today, banking, financial services people, their data is exploding because the digital economy is growing and growing and growing. Unfortunately, I'm 49 this year. I remember I used to have a bank book. I used to go to the bank, put my money in. I explain to the guys that work for me, they think I'm really weird. Every Thursday you get paid in cash, you go to the bank, you go there, that's it. I didn't get any banking statements, there was no internet banking. So imagine that how businesses like that have transformed now, and that's happening every day. So that's why we're seeing this growth in data. The second one is, there's more applications available today. And applications are great. And as I was saying yesterday, this bank, they believe they have between 400 to 500 applications within their banking business today. That's incredible, you think about that. They asked me, I said, well look, I would have thought you have obviously internet banking, share trading platform, some internal, maybe 50, 60, that says 400. So if you think about it from this perspective as well with applications is they're quickly wound up. In some cases we get third-party people to develop them for us. And within that, there's obviously vulnerabilities within those applications and the ability to exploit those applications. And within our business, that's what I'll talk about this bit about how it's relevant to Imperva in our business, is that and the growth of what we call APIs now is a big, big threat to the industry as a whole. And I'll talk about that, how it's both a threat from the ability to then extract data out or the ability to extort companies in that area. The third one is, and I saw it here, so it's relevant to both of our businesses, that more people are accessing data every day of the week. Now, all of us, as I say, I can get my phone now, I can check my bank balance, I can look to see if my goods have been shipped to me, but then internally within your own business as well, you have access to a lot of data. And companies such as banks, obviously, they have internal staff accessing data, they have customers accessing data, they probably had third-party contractors accessing data, not just banking finance, all corporations today. And they obviously have then different levels of privileged user access within that. And again, the question I always ask these C-level managers is those two things. Where is all of your data? And can you answer me, do you know where it is? And the answer in generally, in the vast majority of those people are saying, no, we don't know where all of our data is. So obviously, to me, as a pretty basic person, I think, well, that would be a big risk. If you can't tell where your data is, that's a big problem. And the second question I always ask is, do you know who's accessing your data at any one point in time? And the answer to that question is, again, no, they don't, is the honest answer. Because these companies and banks and government departments here, they're huge departments and institutions with hundreds of thousands of people within the organisation with the right to be able to access data. And so there's external people, contractors along the lines of that. And then that's where obviously we talk about the area, the insider threat. Because my details today can be compromised, or I can be a malicious user, but I can be logging in legitimately, and I can be doing things that the company may not be able to aware, because it's very, very hard to detect and understand what's going on in that area. And the fourth thing which drives all of this, obviously, is many, many more bad actors in the market today. Now, the dark web is talked about, and more from the relevance I'll say that is that you and I today, well, I'm not, because I'm not technically a genius, but I don't know how to log on to the dark web, but I have my engineer today come in and we can dial up a web-based attack or a DDoS attack for a very, very low cost today. Much lower than it would cost a company here to be able to defend that. So the economics is now obviously way, in the favour of the crime or the crime syndicate. Bitcoin is here to stay, so there's nothing wrong with Bitcoin, I'm saying, but philosophically it's here to stay, but it is the means in which we can do private transactions and payments. Now I can talk about it after. We've got some great examples of ransomware in Korea in particular, not a customer of ours, where there was a ransomware locking up a data centre, and the attackers were so polite, they offered payment plan. They said, you don't have to pay us all up front, you can pay over 4 or 5 easy payments. So that's where Bitcoin has relevance there. And the third one, obviously, is Wikipedia. So the ability to leak and dump information onto the internet. And again, I'm not here today to say it spells the right or the wrong of that, but there's those ability to do that and obviously embarrass people and the likes of that. So how's that all relevant? Because we see from the point of view that the cybercrime monetization can be broken down into 2 areas, we believe. Obviously on the left here is extortion through DDoS attack or ransomware. And by extortion I mean I can block a bank's or a government's website or any corporation's website. And most people with a digital presence today, there is somebody within that business that can count, we're not talking seconds or minutes, the millisecond degradation of performance costs money in transactions or commercial payments. So an example may be, I need to insure my car today. I go to the #1 car insurance website in the Philippines, the time's out. So I can't be bothered, I go somewhere else. They can count that in dollars and cents. The second factor is obviously ransomware today. It is very, very much a growing concern. And about 6 months ago when I was here, I met with one of the top CISOs, it's not in the Philippines, but I've ever met, who works in a corporation here. And he said, ransomware, regardless of how the word to use dumb it is, in terms of the way, the ability to develop and deploy it, it's something that does keep him awake at night. So we can extort businesses now if we're criminals, in terms that we can block their websites, we can lock up data, and people have to pay us to stop doing that. The other one is the theft area. So web applications can be easily exploited. I can drive some script into there, I can do certain things to be able to get, obviously, access into data. And if we think about it logically, all web applications, all web front ends for something is eventually connected to a database. And there's some statistics I'll give afterwards, but the vast majority of data breaches externally are driven through web-based applications. And the fourth one in terms of threat, as I always touch upon, is the insider threat. I think there's a statistic there. We would say about 47% of all data breaches today throughout the world are created by insider users. Now, as it says there, my details can be compromised and stolen. I can be careless, somebody can come in, Henry who works for me, comes in, sits at my laptop, extracts out some company data and my credentials, or I can basically be just a malicious user wanting to damage the company on the way out, or a moral crusader in my own mind. So that's Imperva's opinion, and like all opinions, it could be right, it could be wrong. It's my opinion as well. Some statistics to back that up. As I said, so these statistics, and they're down there at the bottom, and I think we're going to hand this out a PDF at the bottom, at the end of the presentation. Are CISOs concerned that breach is going undetected? Yeah, 80%, I always round things up. 80% of all CISOs, as a global survey, say, yeah, they do. And there are a vast majority, unfortunately, of user cases here where this keeps on going unnoticed. And that brings it back to why is the government here introducing things such as data privacy legislation, which is very, very relevant. It's for these reasons, because there are, and there have been, some relatively high-profile cases here in the Philippines of data breaches, and it's relevant for the government to step in and set a framework, for compliance of data privacy. Now, in my opinion, compliance is great, but companies have to embrace compliance. It's not like paying your taxes, it's a big pain, you have to do it. It's something more the government's trying to set a positive framework for businesses to invest in this area here because of these reasons, because these things won't go away and they'll increase over the period of time. Unfortunately, and this is where even our own technologies, I'll admit this, is a problem, is where we, as the data flows grow and our products that we develop spit out more alerts, and alerts meaning saying we believe this is a problem, we believe this is a problem, we believe this is a problem. That's growing exponentially as well. And as I said at the start, there's two problems here. So the technologies we've developed are very, very good, but you have to be a real expert to understand what's going on with that. And this is not a poor reflection upon the Philippines information security market. It's something that happens across the world today. There's not enough highly qualified information security personnel to sit looking at that screen. Now, whether it be an Imperva product or whether it be logarithm product, at the end of the day, security is about people, policy, and practice. It's not about the technology. I can sit here, and we do have the world's best technologies in the field we work in, but people can invest in different technologies that are relevant to mine or competitive to mine. It's more, at the end of the day, the people that manage and maintain those technologies. Now, we have made steps now today, and it's a cool word to use, machine-based learning. We've invested in these technologies, and that's a big driver now in Imperva, is to make our technology much easier to use and maintain and understand. So in terms of maybe getting 10,000 alerts a day, our machine-based learning technologies only will send me 5 or 6 critical pieces of alerts that I need to look into. And that will then alleviate the need to have really high-level experienced staff. Obviously, you still need professional people to be able to look at this and view it, but in time, it'll mean that statistic should go down. And then obviously that answers the third question, it's the lack of incompetent staff within the industry. So how does that then, the threat landscape as we talk about it today, then how does this map back to what we do today at Imperva? So we believe today, obviously and I'll talk about this, we have Imperva is the world's biggest DDoS service provider in the world today. So we have an extremely large network. Big sometimes is good because it means we can absorb the biggest attacks in the world today. The other areas, obviously, we are very strong in the compliance area. We have technology to cover off the insider threat, and we are obviously the world leaders in web-based application security today. Oh, jumped ahead a bit. So, yeah, these are the technologies. I could spend 5 hours going to each of these today, but we are, as I said, Imperva is in the web application firewalling market. The market which we would not really, even when I joined the business, I always knew that Imperva had what they call a database firewall, didn't really understand what it is. But to me personally, it's one of the most relevant technologies in the world today. The other technology I'm talking about there is the insider data breach. It's called counter breach. That's the technology I'm talking about, which is machine-based learning, to take all that statistical information and give me really relevant, easy to use, understandable information that anybody. I could take it to the board of management today. They could quickly understand what's going on, what the threat is, why potentially we are being breached, or the ability that a breach could happen. So, hopefully that gives you a bit of the view of both Imperva's view of the world, how we see that's relevant to here. Why we're working with Exclusive is because we have a long history with Exclusive and even transition networks locally. We started in Thailand. It's a very, very successful partnership. So last year when Exclusive approached us about expanding our relationship, we're very, very, very happy to do that. We believe there's a great team here. Unfortunately, my business is a numbers game, so that's why my hair falls out. It used to be beautiful, blonde and curly at one point. That's Renato, I've got a lot in common there. But we believe there's a really big opportunity here. We're not a young business, as you can see, we're founded in 2002. We have headquarters in Redwood Shores in the Bay Area. What I always say about Imperva is the forefathers, what they thought about web application security, invented what they call the web application firewall, database and activity monitoring, database firewalling. They were ahead of their time. I always say this, it's more relevant today than it was back when they thought of these original ideas in 2002. So very, very smart people. Like everybody, we have over 1,000 customers globally today. Can't give you financial information, but the APJ region is growing very, very fast in the last 3 years. It's a real growth driver for the business overall. We are a publicly traded company, like everybody, but we are the leaders in the web application firewall market. Ever since Gartner has expressed this report, Imperva has always been a leader in this market. We have very fierce, strong competition. We were just talking about before. I really respect our competitors. They make good technologies, but I can honestly say to you, we do have the best technology in the market today. In terms of the DDoS market, as I mentioned to you before, this is the Forest Wave, the DDoS mitigation solution. When they first put this out, I think it was a year ago, so this is the next report, we were instantly put into the leaders category. Now, we'll talk about it further. DDoS is a very relevant market, very relevant here. As I said, we're the world's biggest DDoS service provider today, and we're not number one because we just have the biggest network. It's because the complexity of the technology we can deploy, the ease of use of that. It's a subscription-based model, so it's very, very easy for companies to gain an understanding, deploy, and use this technology. So finally, like everybody, these are our statistics of the companies, but as I said, the relevance of this market here, we do have a good handful of financial services business today. We have ongoing activities within the financial services market. Where are the other relevant markets we see both globally, regionally, and I believe in the Philippines, government, financial services, banking, all relevant markets. I mean, really, to answer the question of the day, anybody with any information of any value should be of value working with Imperva and Exclusive as our partner in this market today. I know sometimes people don't believe it because I do like to talk a lot, but that is all I have to say right now. I'll be here after. More than welcome to meet everybody, have a chat if any further questions. Thank you very much for listening to me.